Well, I got money in the bank, gold in the safe, 30 in the clip, I got more in my waist. Done the whole shit, I can let it go to waste. Hold up, hold up. Well, I got money in the bank, gold in the safe, 30 in the clip, I got more in my waist. Done the whole shit, I can let it go to waste.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Atypical Security Guard. Shout out to Bones and Brew SecurityGear.com. Guys, if you're looking for security guard based t-shirts and morale patches, that is the place to get them. This is my old school goon rig shirt. I need to bring this shit back. This thing is so fucking fly. Today we're going to be talking about, I read it on Reddit, security guard question and answers, where I go over some things that I found on the site Reddit, some of the security boards, and answer questions for people that are looking for answers. Let's get right to it. Number one, the first question says, is it a good idea to shift over to law enforcement after 5 years? It says, I have no interest in becoming a cop, which right there, I would say, then why would you switch over to law enforcement? But their starting pay is $35 an hour. It's so tempting, even though I would rather not do it. With 5 years of armed experience, I could probably get 40 an hour starting pay instead of the 35. Is it a good idea to become a cop for the money, or just stick with security and hope to get a nuclear position or something I would assume better? If you can get $40 an hour, I say take the money. This is Caitlin Clark conversation, right? If you can make more money, always go for the more money. Now, my biggest issue with this question is that you're stating that you don't want to be a law enforcement officer. If at the end of the day, you truly don't want to do that job, then you're probably not going to be really dedicated to it. You're probably not going to be really dialed into it. And the last thing that we need is more police officers who are not focused on the job, committed to the job, that want to be there. I think that becoming a cop is not only a great profession, it's something that we need. It's something that is going to always be needed. And if you bring something to the table that's missing for law enforcement, you know, kind of a different approach, a different thought pattern, a different thought process, dude, like definitely look into becoming a police officer. But the only thing that gives me any sort of pause, and you're asking, so I'm giving you my opinion, is that you're saying that you don't want to be a police officer. I always push people to go towards the opportunity that's going to give them a better lifestyle, more money, more financial security. But law enforcement is not one of those environments where you want to go into it where you're not really wanting to be there. So if you're happy in security, if you're making decent money in security and it's somewhat negligible, I would stay in security. But I am pushing you to be a cop if you can find it in your heart to do the job and truly want to be a part of that industry. Next question is, as supervisors, how do you handle someone who constantly snitches on their coworkers? What professional methods do you use? I have one that constantly does it, and it drives me bananas. Man, snitches. How do you handle that? You know, it really depends on what the issue is. You know, if these people are talking about really minuscule, like insignificant things, that definitely needs to be addressed. I would say the bigger issue is, what are the problems within the company? Is this person bringing up something that is legitimate? Is it something that is potentially dangerous? Is it something that is potentially an issue that could lead to, you know, some sort of censorship, or people losing their jobs, or maybe putting the contract at risk? That has to be addressed. If it's a person that's just complaining, then that needs to also be dealt with. I think that as a supervisor, I would definitely want to talk to the individual and find out what it is that's making this person so unhappy. Try and figure out if, like, maybe this can all be mitigated by moving them to a different location, putting them in a position where maybe they're not working alongside other officers or other people. You know, if they're working a static site, maybe moving them to a shift where they're working overnights and they're not having to have interaction with people. It really just depends. Unfortunately, with a lot of these questions, there's so much context that's needed before you can really give a great answer. I will say, and I've said this before, that if you guys are taking problems to your supervisor, once you have made a complaint, once you have documented that there's a problem, the wheels of justice, so to speak, whether that's in the company or with the contractor, a lot of times, once the process is started, that something has been documented to be a problem, the way that everything is so litigious now in 2024 and in today's society, you really can't stop the wheels of motion. So be careful, be warned, be aware that if you value the location where you're working, if you value the shift that you're working, the schedule that you have, maybe the pay or the location, understand that once you start making those complaints and they get documented, all of that is up for debate, all of that is up for change, and you can find yourself in a situation where everybody is losing out over some really petty bullshit. So be careful if you're the person snitching or if they're the person complaining about the snitches, if you get all of that. Okay. Next one is security in California legally allowed to get physical? A great question, and one that I get all the time about security in general. It says, allow me to clarify. It's understandable that security firms prioritize avoiding legal entanglements by instructing their guards to simply observe and report. However, as a hypothetical client who owns a jewelry store with millions in assets, if my armed security doesn't intervene physically to halt a robbery, potentially with lethal force if required, when faced with a theft such as a high magnitude, then what purpose do they serve? What good are you? You're standing there with all that gear on, you've got your fucking gun. What purpose do you serve? A question that I and many other armed security guards are given on a daily basis. The truth of the matter is not, can private security go hands on? The question is not, can private security intervene? And the question is not, can private security get physical? Listen, private security guards, no different than any regular citizen on any given day, has the authority and the ability to not only protect themselves from bodily harm, but protect third party people. Anybody, whether you're working in security or you're just walking down the street, you're at a grocery store, you're with your family, you have the legal right to protect yourself from bodily harm. And you also have the legal right and authority to protect a third party from being harmed. The issue is that does not absolve you from any of the responsibilities or any of the liabilities that come with that. If you're a private individual and you decide to stop a robbery that you see, you might be doing the morally and ethically right thing. This person's breaking into a store. They've come into this jewelry store. I'm here. They're robbing the jewelry store, and I am going to intervene. And in that moment, anything that happens is now potentially your responsibility and potentially your liability. We all know of cases that we can point to in the news where someone has done the right thing. A great example would be maybe well, I'm not going to say that's a great example of the right thing, but an example of someone getting involved in a situation would be the guy on the New York subway. The guy on the New York subway, I believe his name is Daniel Penny. He sees a homeless person harassing people on the subway train. He sees this homeless person interacting with people in a way that they feel uncomfortable. They're scared for their safety. And he decides to take it upon himself, a former Marine, a U.S. veteran, to intervene and take this guy to the ground. And he does so. And he holds him, assumingly for the police to apprehend this guy. And in the commission of getting involved, this guy dies. And Daniel Penny, to the best of my knowledge, right now is sitting in a jail cell awaiting a murder trial. He took it upon himself to get involved. He took it upon himself to intervene. And now he and he alone, not the people that he was trying to save, not the people that he was trying to help, but he alone is sitting in a jail cell looking at a potential prison sentence because he did the ethically or morally right thing. When it comes to private security, as much as we are wanted to intervene, as much as people want us to stand in that gap and stop the the bad person or the bad perpetrator, companies simply don't want the liability. Now, is that debatable across the board? Of course. Some companies are like, look, if X happens, we're expecting you to do Y or Z. Some companies are saying we want you to be completely hands off. Now, the question of what good are you, I think it comes down to what are you expecting from your security? Most companies are expecting their security guards to work in a capacity where they are protecting the customers and the clients and the staff and themselves, and not necessarily the product. It sounds crazy to think that someone would say, hey, let millions of dollars worth of jewelry go out of the store by allowing it to be stolen when someone comes in. But the truth of the matter of the fact is that that stuff is insured. The staff, the customers, the client, they're not. Those are people, and you can't get those lives back. So most companies are saying we would rather have you protect the people as opposed to the items. Now, you can agree with that, you can disagree with that, you can complain about that, we can argue it. But to answer your question, yes, security guards are legally allowed to get physical. The problem is that the companies are most often mandating that they do not. And at the end of the day, we're working in a capacity where we serve the client. And if the client says, do not get physical, then we don't get physical. And it's not something that we can argue from the standpoint of us having a better knowledge about security. Ultimately, we work in a capacity of service, and we have to do what the client wants. If the client doesn't want us to get physical, we simply can't get physical. And I get how frustrating that can be. Sorry, my cat will not leave my computer alone. Get down right now. Sorry. Whew, she likes to get involved. All right, next question. Paranoia. Let's see this. Is it normal? I recently got hired with Securitas, yeah, and they threw me at a warm body, do nothing site. This happens a lot. Overnight from midnight to 8. I hated that shift, by the way. I used to work that shift in the prison. The place was at some empty trucking facility. The place was so damn dark. I figured I would just do some homework, catch up on missed lecture notes. So I locked myself in a room and began doing so. But damn, I felt so unsafe for some odd reason, despite the facility being locked. This place was also very far from the nearest main busy road, and it was pitch black outside. This sounds horrible. I figured I might patrol the compound every hour or so, but I noped out on that idea real quick once I stepped outside and saw how dark it really was. This is crazy. Also, you guys weren't lying about how unprofessional these companies are, throwing me at a site with no instructions, no running water, unusable bathrooms, etc. It's insane. Did they really expect me to use a porta potty to relieve myself? All right. There's a lot of other information on this, but I will tell you guys that one time when I was living in Pennsylvania working private security, there was an old hospital, not like a mental hospital, but a regular hospital, right? I mean, think of like a huge hospital. It had gone bankrupt. It was a private hospital. It had gone bankrupt, and they were selling it to a group of investors, and these investors were going to knock it down. They were going to destroy this entire hospital. So at the time, I'm working for Allied Barton. This was before the merger. And they had us working one security guard for an entire hospital. And they had us located in the main entrance of the emergency room. Okay. We had a TV set up in there. We had like a little food area set up in there. But every hour, you had to patrol different areas of the hospital. This entire hospital was abandoned. Guys, like we had to go down into the morgue. You had to go into like all these other areas, like where the rooms were. And I was working say 5 o'clock at night to it was like 5 at night to 5 in the morning. And it was absolutely terrifying. And there were so many times where I would go down into the morgue area and lights would come on, or they would go off on their own. I was absolutely mortified and terrified working that shift. But I get it. I get it. You're not paranoid. These places have spirits, they have energy, and they are extremely scary. I have been there and I understand what you're going through. The next one says, I can't find a job. I was on Indeed, and mainly the only jobs that were available for Meshuggah, I think that's what it is. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Were either overnight shifts. I can't do that because I'm a student at a university, or they would need 1 to 2 years of prior experience. Is there any website that I should look for jobs? I thought I would use LinkedIn maybe, but I feel like that would be more suited for corporate jobs. I tried to apply for Paragon at Square One and was denied. They said I can apply again in 3 months. I applied to Credit Valley Hospital. I had a friend that worked there, but I didn't go to the training day due to not having a security license. I had an interview already because my friend was a team leader. The employer told me to get the license, but didn't tell me I needed to get it before December. So pretty much I didn't get the license in time. And because I missed the training, they said I am not rehireable for 6 months. Bro, it's a lot of excuses in here. Figure out what it takes to get the job. Part of the reason why you can't find a job is that you can't follow instructions, or you're not looking into what the requirements are before you're taking the opportunity to reach out. This is a great reminder to everyone, regardless of what you're looking for. This is clearly a security guard based conversation, but anyone that is looking for a job, the second you go on Indeed or any of these hiring sites, okay, and you submit your resume, you start the process. Once you have tried to apply for a job, if you haven't done everything that's needed, if you haven't met the requirements, but you've sent in a half-ass resume or a half-ass application, you're only signaling to these people that you're not the candidate. Guys, it's getting hot out here, right? Nike and Beaverton just laid off 750 people yesterday. That's a lot of people with degrees, a lot of people with experience, a lot of people with, like, great knowledge of almost anything and everything that could be utilized for almost any company, right? 750 people that are now back looking for a job. And they're going to be on the same sites looking for, communications jobs, management jobs, marketing jobs. And if you're one of those people out there who can't follow instructions, can't follow directions, and submits a half-ass resume, you're not going to get called back. And if you're doing this in a law enforcement capacity or a security capacity, you might find yourself in a situation just like this, where now that you've submitted your information and you've been denied, now you can't apply before a specific amount of time has gone by. So please look at the requirements of what they want you to do before you submit your shit. All right. Next question: duty belts and shoes. Went from an unarmed site to 3 dots. I think that's Securitas, to an armed site with a small local company with a ton of walking. Just looking for a duty belt, solid for OC, cuffs, radio, all that jazz, 2 magazines. Shoes, I would prefer something more like tennis shoes, but I've already walked the soles and part of my usual work shoes. There was something basic like Nikes I got forever ago, and they did last me 2 years though. Anyway, recommendations on the best boots, best duty belt. Wife just walked in with some food. Looking forward to having some of that here in a second. The best boots that I can recommend for any security guard are the Moab 2. Okay, Moab 2 boot. They zip up on the side. They feel like high top tennis shoes, but they give you the stability of a work boot. Very, very well constructed. I mean, I work anywhere from 60 to 70 hours a week. I'm on my feet 16 hours a day. I do a ton of walking, a ton of standing. I'm telling you guys from first-hand experience, the Moab 2 boot is the best boot that's out there. Now, duty belt, my opinion, the Condor. It's a Condor belt. It uses it doesn't have an inner belt. I have one over here, but my gun's in it, and if I bring it over, they're going to shut down my stream. So the Condor belt, it's like thick. You can actually find these on Amazon. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's maybe like 45, 50 bucks. It looks like a operator belt, but it's super cheap. And I've used it for 2.5, going on 3 years. I wear it every single day. And it's got one of those Cobra buckles, right? Wait, no. Hang on. It's the Condor duty belt, and it uses the Cobra buckle. The Cobra buckle is the key. Like, those things are amazing, but you have to make sure that you get the legitimate Cobra buckle and not the knockoff. So if you get this Condor like operator belt, it's like really thick and it's got molly webbing all the way around it. I can't remember what it's called. Make sure that you do that and then get the Cobra connector. Those two things together will cost you like maybe 70 bucks, 75 bucks, and you have a dope belt that you can use for a long time. And then the boots, again, the Moab too. All right. Last thing, I lied and got a potential job offer at Securitas. So I just started working last week at Allied Universal. I'm getting paid $18 an hour, but I'm not getting the hours that I want. I've been seeing people with no experience get supervisor positions at 20 plus. And these are jobs paying at Securitas. So I decided to call the main branch in my state and came up with a lie. That's never good. Saying that I came in for an interview 2 weeks ago, but never got a call back. When the person asked who interviewed me, I happened to guess the name of an actual person who works for there. And said person calls me literally not even 20 minutes after, saying I was supposed to do an application after the interview, blah, 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 blah. Now they're offering me 22 plus. I have no security experience. I'm 19 years old. I'm thinking of going in and asking for 21 at least. So let me get this straight. You lied to potentially get a job, and now you've lied and said that you already had the interview, which you didn't. They're going to potentially offer you $20, and you're going to go in based on all of this and ask for more money. You're starting off on the wrong foot, right? A major part of security, a major part of law enforcement is integrity. And you're openly admitting that you have very low integrity in terms of what you're willing to do to get this job. I think you're starting out on the wrong foot. Now, you might be able to kind of scam your way into this situation, but that is a huge red flag as to how you view things, how you see things, what your thought process is on what's important and what's okay. And I think that unfortunately, that is going to come back to bite you in the ass somewhere down the line. So, my advice to you, I wouldn't do it. I think you're going in under the wrong pretense, and that potentially you're setting yourself up for failure if you don't have the experience and the time in doing this job to be successful with it. Would you get her out of that goddamn water bowl? Fuck. You're over licking water like crazy. Sorry. I don't think you have the experience or the background to do the job and to do the job properly. But aside from that, man, the character trait of lying is just not a good look. And I think that's going to come back to bite you in the ass moving into the future. So those are the questions from Reddit that I brought to you guys today. I'm about to eat my dinner. I'm going to tell my dog I'm sorry for telling her to quit drinking water. You have every right to drink water, okay? You were just super loud, and it sounds weird when I'm trying to do a live stream. Okay, come here.
How dare you drink water while he's
how dare you drink water when I'm live streaming?
Room instead of
room. Come here, Kashi. Come here. Come here. Come here.
No.
Come here. Come here. Tell everybody that you're okay. Come here. Oh my God, you're so dramatic. All right. She don't want to hear it. She's mad at me. All right, guys, that's it. Have a great one. If I can turn this off. I can't stop my live stream. Jesus Christ. Oh, there we go. Peace.